Rocks are important. Since the dawn of time, humans have held an appreciation for physical things, objects that we can hold. And a good chunk of those things happen to be rocks, or gemstones as we call the ones of more precious variety. Call it a materialistic tendency, if you will. It has led us to admire all kinds of rocks, odd looking ones, normal ones, smooth, shiny, rare. They have held significance in the human psyche for a long time. Over the last few months, I started wondering about this specific symbol that I noticed from time to time. It is known as the evil eye. The superstition of the evil eye or nazar is a worldwide belief. It presents the idea that an individual's malicious gaze, often envious, can bring upon misfortune. The recipient of this curse is usually unaware and is subjected to adversity or damage courtesy of the malign glance.
As absurd as this may sound, it has some ground to stand upon, as it may originate from the fact that during ancient times, if anyone had any envy towards you or something that you own, it may lead to a possibility of them engaging in destructive behavior to take it from you. Think a stalker watching you or a thief glancing at your jewelry. Their gaze, their eyes, an indicator of something bad about to happen. We often gaze at the things we desire, but sometimes those things do not belong to us, yet that does not stop some people. Ironically, the most commonly used charm used to protect against such curses is called the evil eye. It is this blue glass bead looking thing that you might have seen in fashion, amulet artworks, trinkets, or people posting it on their social media as an emoji, presumably to ward off negative energies. Side note, the blue evil eye is specifically related to West Asian and Balkan regions, and even more specifically India and Turkey.
For some, this evil eye symbol, the little blue glass bead, holds some sort of power, something more than its physical properties, something not visible, something that is felt more by the soul than the usual five senses. One of the things that has always been associated with holding metaphysical powers, gemstones and crystals. In the real world, you might delve into the pseudoscience of crystal healing and read about how these semi-precious stones have the power to do things like cleanse your aura or provide strength, luck, and stability. They can boost energy or unlock hidden potential from deep within you. People desperately desire something physical that can ground their faith and spiritual beliefs. Crystals and gemstones provide that, their beauty and rarity adding to the allure. People who agree with this crystal theory believe that different crystals offer different desired effects. As I'm not personally a believer or practitioner, I'm just going to make up various effects so you get an idea of what I mean. For example, you might see something like rose quartz is a stone of love, amethyst provides stability and calming, citrine is an energizing stone, clear quartz is a universal healer, jade provides prosperity and luck, sapphire provides wisdom, and redstone is used to build 8-bit computers.
These beliefs are usually adjacent to other spiritual practices like astrology and tarot readings, and are worldwide, which just shows that there is some shared human desire to believe in these crystals.
People want to believe, and they do believe. Even though you cannot scientifically prove that these crystals do anything, if a poor fella thinks that his tiger's eye stone gives him courage and he uses it to nail an interview and land a job, it did end up working, right? It is like a placebo effect, but it does work. And it is not too far off from the other superstitious things we do. Like we have rituals and we have lucky coins and lucky shirts.
It's my father's lucky coin.
I mean, it is a billion-dollar industry to sell magical crystals and magical solutions to people. But the crystals aren't magic, and what they're selling is hope.
Speaking of magical crystals, they are often depicted as magical objects or objects of great power in stories as well. If I were to think of some examples, I would say
Dragon balls are rocks, right? They are these highly sought-after objects that hold great magical power. When all 7 of them are gathered, one can summon Shenron, a wish-granting dragon, who will grant any wish. This absurd power makes him play a very important role in the plot of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Kryptonite counts, I think. It's a green crystal that holds the magical power to nullify the protagonist of Superman. Although I'm sure if you look through the wiki or ask a comic nerd, they will tell you the scientific mumbo-jumbo that is the official canon explanation of its powers. Okay, next. Crash Bandicoot gives you gems when you break every box in a level, and certain levels allow you to obtain a special colored gem to unlock hidden parts in previous levels.
And God, can I just say, am I the only one who is surprised with how difficult Crash 1 is? Was it just me? Like, it's more difficult than I thought a Crash Bandicoot game was supposed to be.
Sonic has Chaos Emeralds that you collect which allow you to transform into Supersonic. Indie game Devil Daggers has these blood red gems that are the main enemy drops and also allow you to increase the effectiveness of your main weapon. League of Legends uses them as the main objectives like the Nexus. According to the lore, the Nexus is a crystal that allows a player to summon their heroes in the plane of justice, so technically that's what its powers are, but who cares about the lore of League of Legends anyways. Skyrim has soul gems that are part of its magic system. They serve as the primary ingredient in enchanting stuff and can hold the souls of enemies you slay. There's also the gems in the Soul Can and the Stones of Baranzaya that we do not talk about because fuck them seriously. They are also an immediately recognizable valuable item in any game. Continuing with Skyrim as the example, let's say you open a chest and see a brightly colored rock. Whether it be a garnet or a ruby or a sapphire, even if it is your first time playing the game, you know that it probably sells for a lot at the shop or either it is an upgrade item that you should place in your inventory to use later.
They are the naturally occurring rare collectible item of this planet that we have to dig out. Digging being another one of the favorite pastime of humans. We all understand this, and because of this reason, we are not unwilling to spend fortunes on trying to acquire these rocks. Speaking of expensive rocks,
diamonds, chemically speaking, a solid form of the element carbon. Historically, they have served their purpose as a symbol of wealth, love, and blood. Its beauty and brilliance make it the most sought-after gemstone, the ultimate show of wealth. The Christmas tree of gold would look incomplete without a diamond adorning its crown.
Okay, that was a dumb metaphor, but side note, the reason why gold and diamonds are linked together might have possibly been due to the joint occurrence of diamonds with quartzite and quartz veins, but it's probably just as simple as them both being expensive as fuck.
Billions of years of geological processes to form under tectonic pressure and heat in the womb of the earth gives them a poetic quality. It is a worthy backstory, yes, but the more interesting one is how they might have made their way to Earth. Via meteorites, as first found in a meteor that had landed in Allen Hills, Antarctica in 1981. It seems necessary to invoke an extrasolar origin for the diamond. The scientists concluded in a paper published in the journal Science in 1987. This is not their only occurrence in space. There are entire small white dwarf stars that cool down and crystallize into diamonds. BPM 37093, nicknamed Lucy, is likely one of the largest diamonds in the local region of the universe. Diamonds literally are dying stars. Like, isn't space so cool? Like, just entire stars made out of diamonds? Like, we cannot comprehend this kind of stuff.
Okay, back to Earth. They have a long and rich history for thousands of years that stretches across cultures and countries, but we're going to skip all of that and we're going to reach the 19th century where, until that point, diamonds were exclusively produced and traded out of India. It was then when the first diamond was found in Kimberley, South Africa in 1866, and it was appropriately called Eureka. This led to the birth of the modern-day diamond industry, as all the small mining companies that popped up in Kimberley, South Africa, they got amalgamated into this one giant mining company known as the De Beers Mining Organization, which held a monopoly over the world's diamond trade for a very long time. Although I just glanced over them, I must go back and talk about the De Beers, the company single-handedly responsible for establishing diamonds as a symbol of love. The diamond ring, symbol of love, marriage, and lifelong commitment, usually wasn't always so. In fact, it owes its social perception and status that it holds today to possibly the most influential and effective marketing campaign of the 20th century. In fact, it was so effective that it changed the cultural perception of these rocks and baked them into today's tradition. Before the 1900s, diamond rings were not the common choice for engagement rings. In the 1930s, the world was dealing with wars and going through the Great Depression, and the diamond sales were down. De Beers, who held the monopoly over diamonds, had an oversupply, so they needed to revive the dying demand for their main product. To do this, they hired N.W. Iyer & Son, an advertising agency based out of Philadelphia. At this point in time, diamonds were only seen as something that entertained the fancy of the rich. They were not meant for the common man. The agency's strategy depended on changing this public image and creating an emotional link to the notions of romance and eternal love. This preys upon some of the most unguarded parts of the human heart. The campaign did not try to suggest that a man marrying a woman should give her a diamond engagement ring. It acted as if it was an absolute requirement, the singular thing to do. It wasn't true at that time, but you know how if you might say something with enough confidence and act like it is the objective truth that you know, people will believe you. And if you do that intentionally, it is manipulation and brainwashing. And in this case, it is that of the entire public done intentionally to sell a product. It is all fucking fake.
In 1947, Francis Geraghty, a copywriter at the agency, penned the slogan, "A diamond is forever." This phrase was a smash hit and became the focal point of their marketing. Men bought the stone, but women influenced the buying, so the ads targeted both men and women.
Well, Hollywood is the most powerful tool to get ideas across to the general public in the US. N.W. Ayer and Son reached out to various Hollywood studios to ensure that diamonds were featured prominently in movies, either as plot points or worn by the stars on screen. Seeing that would obviously influence the common public. The most iconic of these films were Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, which features Marilyn Monroe singing the number "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend" while wearing a 26-carat piece on her neck. As the 1960s brought about the sexual revolution, their strategy had to change and appeal to the connotations of greed, lust, and sex that diamond carried. If a woman agrees to sleep with a man, his worth as a man and her bliss is all entirely dependent on his ability to provide a diamond engagement ring. In Japan, they established the 3 months of a salary rule, in which they marketed it that way, that a man had to spend 3 months of his salary on a diamond engagement ring to be considered whatever. I don't know. But this notion struck the landing, and the rest of the world would follow soon in the footsteps of the US, influenced by its soft power and its cultural output in movies and stuff like that. Even my own home country, which never had a diamond ring proposal culture, now has one, to be modern and trendy, I guess. How our emotional needs are filled by our practices as a consumer sometimes saddens me, because your love might be real, but your desire to express it with a diamond engagement ring is put into our head by an advertising campaign that had the sole concern of increasing profits. It is all fucking fake. Like, how evil. Whatever. Well, love, it's all well and good, but diamonds are associated with something much darker in a very different part of the world. They are associated with
Conflict diamonds are a common currency in West Africa, also referred to as blood diamonds, since bloodshed is what they generally finance.
Tom Zuellner's 2003 book, The Heartless Stone, is a story of the globe-trotting journey he goes on trying to figure out where diamonds these stones come from, a question raised by his purchase of a diamond engagement ring. It is a well-researched book with a decently compelling narrative, although repetitive at times. It showcases all the sides of a diamond trade. His story starts off in the Central African Republic, destitute and corrupt, but one of the best places in the world to erase the history of dirty diamonds. At least that was the case when this book was written. I don't know now, so don't quote me. The book goes on to Sierra Leone and Angola and other countries like that. You can also read it in other sources that describe the poor conditions and violence that surround the origins of these stones. Diamonds used as a currency to fund coups and warlords and civil wars, more commonly called blood diamonds.
These negative connotation is more or less gone today, as studies estimate that most of the world's diamond supply is now clean, but the past will forever be stained red. The fact is that greed, along with its violence, plagues objects of value. It is a common trope in both stories and history for people's hearts to be corrupted through valuable artifacts, cursed gemstones, or gold. This accompaniment of twisted desires that comes along with the gemstone has become a useful tool for setting up plot points and getting the stories moving. But I had a strange feeling that kind of bothered me while I was reading this book. I think it has to do with the contrast of the image of the subject in my mind versus what I am being told in the book. On one hand, diamonds signify wealth and opulence, but as you read about them, it is all tales of poor working conditions, exploited labor, and blood that really takes the sheen off of these gems for you. For some, it is a priceless artifact that was mined and exported in from an exotic land, perfectly cut by the most skilled craftsmen and then sold in the highest end shops for exorbitant prices. But somewhere else, it is just another rock. Rock like any other, rock like the ones we climb to challenge ourselves, ones that hold history, boring and dull for billions of years, but history nonetheless. Humans have been using them for and as tools as early as 3 million years ago. They are tough and durable. Making use of them comes naturally to us and to sea otters. Yes, sea otters. They have been known to use pebbles as anvils or hammers to break open mollusks. They also show a tendency to favor a particular rock, a favorite rock. They might even keep this favorite rock in their pockets and only share it with you as a gesture of great respect, making you an honorary sea otter ally. Crows love shiny objects. It's hardwired into their brains to find these little things worth owning, into their little crow brains. We also like stacking rocks, just one of the few everlasting signs of human determination. We stack and climb them and carve and refine them to create works of art. These are ice stones carved by the inhabitants of the Yap Islands of Micronesia. There are 6,000 of these around the world today. They are used to record transactions, a kind of currency, if you will. The stone has no fixed value and it is not physically transferred when ownership changes. It is all recorded orally and upon mutual agreement, which means its value is decided upon by the parties involved. What a simple way to sum up what we are going to get to eventually. The idea of stones being currency is not limited to our species only. Adelaide penguins use them to make transactions for prostitution. Wait, what? Yeah, you heard me right. They forage, hoard, and even steal pebbles from each other and use them in nest building and sexual selection. So it's not just us who like to steal rocks. Look at this.
So some penguins turn to a life of crime.
Didn't expect to read this today, but oh well, what a surprise. Gemstones are not the only thing we have applied intrinsic value to. The most obvious example would be gold, but I'll refrain from talking about it here, or I'll be here for hours. Also, I'm not saying that these things only have intrinsic value and no other practical uses, as that is not true at all. Diamonds and gold have a lot of industrial uses. It's just that for the topic of this video. Though gold and gemstones are the obvious answers when it comes to symbols of one's prosperity, humans have used various items throughout history to show off their wealth. From pineapples to tulips to truffles, caviars, cars, and watches. Won't talk about all of these, but I do want to mention how when pineapples were first brought back to England in 1688, the then King Charles decided to present it as a show of prosperity when throwing a party to a French ambassador. Fella loved pineapples so much that he had a painting made of himself being presented a pineapple like it was an invaluable treasure. Like, funny to look back on it now, so I had to show you.
Sure, monetary value might be more straightforward, but when we get too caught up in numbers, it can narrow our perspective. This rock may not amount to much in terms of price, but there are other ways to assess its worth. Its true potential is priceless. That kind of value is just as appealing, don't you think? Okay, so it's 4 a.m. I'm tired. Here comes the long winded ending section, and hopefully I can finish this by tonight. What is the value of rocks? Let's try to figure it out. Although I did not find a good write-up on this topic, our attraction toward shiny objects may be caused by our need for water. Our survival instincts know that the gleam of water signals a precious resource. Although again, disclaimer, I'm not an expert, so please keep that in mind. It also might just have to do with contrast. In nature, things that can produce their own light are rare, so shiny things become an attractor to our eyes, something that all humans find attractive, generally speaking, and is also rare in its occurrence, becomes valuable even in a social context. If everyone in society thinks this one particular rock is attractive and everyone wants it, then it will most likely end up with the one who is the most powerful in that society. And for our society, money is power. So it becomes worth a lot of money. It becomes expensive. It becomes a luxury item. its ownership gets locked behind the exorbitant price tag that gets put onto it. It starts to act as a symbol of high status and success. We are social creatures and we desire to attract attention towards ourselves in a social setting. This makes it so that luxury items and owning them becomes a need for us. This is true for everything, but we are talking about rocks. All of what I just said makes it easy for us to come upon a mutual agreement of their valuableness. I hope you get what I'm trying to say here. We live in a world where we all are consumers, and consumers are more often than not rational. Consumers are not rational. That sentence was confusing. We automatically equate higher price with higher quality. Like if I'm paying more, I'm also getting a better quality, right? You get what you pay for, right? This is usually not true. Purchasing expensive stuff itself, the act of it, provides you with a high sensory experience and creates strong emotions within you. The price itself becomes a source of our pleasure. It also clouds your judgment and makes you falsely equate the physical qualities of what you bought with the price that you paid for it. Like you could get something similar build quality for cheaper, but because you paid more, you kind of equate that higher price means better stuff, even though that may not be true. It's a marketing tactic that's been put into our brains. It makes sense, right? Retail therapy is a thing, impulse buying is a thing. Buying expensive thing is fun and people like doing it. Okay, now we have established why things are expensive and luxury items and why people buy them. And I want you to keep that in mind. I would consider this the shallower reason, but let's go and talk about something else. So I read this really good essay while trying to research called To Have is to Be: Psychological Functions of Material Possessions. It talks about our relations to physical objects. Material objects influence how people see themselves and how they want to be. They give people control, independence, and emotional comfort, all of which are important psychological functions. The link between material possessions and self-identity seems to be of central psychological importance. Material objects are a part of our identity. We used to, and they have been for a very long time, we used to bury people with their weapons, and pharaohs in Egypt were buried in their tombs with their possessions. We also have like our favorite toys, and you might have like a favorite toy, favorite blanket, or your car that you owned, the first car that you bought, something like that, that you have an emotional attachment to. Oh, and also otters have their rocks. They are an extension of your identity, a physical object that can be used to describe yourself. Our self-image gets reinforced by these objects, and our self-esteem can improve when we have them. Your objects that you have attachment to are a symbol of you, and on top of that, they may also carry a lot of history, personal values, and sentiments, all of which is extremely valuable. But the key difference here is that your emotional attachment to these objects is due to memories and time that you might have spent with them. Their prices do not matter. This is what I would consider the not shallow reason for having an attachment to physical objects. I own this watch that has been gifted to me by my parents, on which birthday I cannot exactly remember, but I wore this for basically the entire second half of my teenage years. And slowly during that time, it became a part of my identity. Like, if you asked me to describe myself from that time period, I would describe this watch, me wearing this watch, because this was part of, an unmissable part of the description that I would have to give you. A few years later, my parents bought me a newer and more expensive watch, but I never cared for it, and they seemed puzzled, but I had formed an emotional attachment to this one, and the price of the new one never mattered to me because I don't value that. My attachment lies not with how expensive my watches are, or if they are considered luxury, or if they are from the top brand or not, or whether or not wearing them will give me social status or something like that. My attachment is with the time I've spent wearing this watch and how it describes me. It is an emotional link that I have with this dead physical object. I care for the meaning this provides to me, irrespective of its price. It is priceless basically for me. And however illogical it may sound to call them priceless, I feel like all of us can relate where we might have a few objects that we all value so much that we would spend an insane amount of money to get them back if we ever lost them. Like a childhood toy, a stuffed toy, a car, or a pair of shoes, or something like that. Now we have talked about both the shallow and the not so shallow reason for liking physical objects. First one is shallow because it is just the dopamine hit you get from purchasing expensive items. The price is the pleasure. It's like see thing, see the price tag, spend money, like thing, instant monkey brain dopamine hit. The second one is a lot slower but also a lot more rewarding in my opinion. It's that they hold a lot of meaning. They might be important to your culture, they might be important to your past, they might be the symbol of your love, your marriage, that engagement ring defining the lifelong commitment that you made to your partner. It could be a crystal, like it doesn't do anything actually, but if it feels like it gives you courage or gives you energy or makes you feel better when you're down, and that's the emotional attachment you have with it, I think that's great. I think that's a great reason to have it. Millions of years of geological processes that had to occur to form these diamonds, it feels a little wrong to put a price tag on them and call them a luxury item. Makes them feel like a commodity instead of the thing of beauty that they are and the poetry that they carry. It makes them feel soulless, which they are not. It takes away from the romantic element of how they operate on a completely different timescale from us. But in the end, they are just rocks. They are what your heart and your brain together decide what they are worth. It may be worth questioning how you value them in order to get rid of all the unnecessary social conditioning that has been put into your brain, especially by people trying to sell you stuff. And I think that's where I'm at. Physical objects are a great emotional link to have. I just don't want to be sold stuff by companies and marketing agencies and shit like that. Also, in trying to let go of all the shallow reasons for liking this kind of stuff from your head, it's important to not let go of too much humanness, because this does look beautiful. It's zircon, by the way, it's not a diamond. I'm finally done. Finally done. It's so fucking late. I need to sleep. I'm gonna edit this tomorrow. I gotta edit this tomorrow. Fuck. Also, like, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'll probably have a few topics that I have a few topics that I'm working on right now. I don't know when they'll be done, but if you want something similar to this video, stick around, subscribe. See ya, bye.